All right, everybody, ding, ding. We are here again. This is Ringside Presents Corner Confessions, and I'm here with my Morehouse brother and a great person that I admire immensely, Dr. Aaron Turpeau. You may know him as the love doctor for Black America. But usually, I can give an introduction, but my introduction doesn't always do people just their due justice. So, Dr. Turpeau, can you kind of break it down to my audience, to the ringside community, who you are, what's your background, and what it is that you do?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. I am Dr. Aaron Turpeau, also known as the Black Love Doctor. What I do, I am a marriage and relationship transformer. So I help people with their love lives and their marriages, and I try to transform it into being very productive and happy, fulfilled relationships. So that is basically what I do. I'm also known as an author. My book is called The Harmonious Way. Find love and marriage by playing your true note. It's an Essence magazine bestseller, as I was saying, and that's probably what I'm most known for. So that's what I do.
Okay. Now I remember, I know I connected with you about almost 9 years ago, and I got to say I remember exactly where I was when you returned my phone call. I was sitting in the Clark Atlanta University cafeteria with
Wow.
my then girlfriend,
Uh-huh.
and I was so excited when I got your call because I'm like, I've been following you,
Mm-hmm.
seen you on BT, seen you on TV One.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, great. I really want to make connection with this guy, and he happens to be my Morehouse brother. So
Right. Mm-hmm.
now your reputation definitely precedes you. I mean, a lot of people who are in the genre of marriage, relationships, dating, your name is out there. From your background, you see a lot of couples, and you helped change the lives of a lot of couples. You helped, mitigate divorce for many marriages that were once in trouble. What are some of the biggest issues, or the more prevalent issues that many couples come to see you for help?
I would say three basic issues. The most common, the biggest one is communication.
Mm-hmm.
Most people overestimate their ability to communicate effectively. They think just because they talk, it makes them a good communicator. No, that just means you talk. So we don't have the skills to communicate, and how should we know how to do that? Because no one ever taught us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest one. And the second one that's the most serious, the most devastating, is infidelity.
Right.
And that tends to be very traumatic, and it is a serious situation. A lot of my colleagues don't like dealing with that with couples. I embrace that because I know that is a big challenge for a lot of couples. And so infidelity would be a big one as well. And the third one would be having your relationship and your marriage as a high priority. A lot of people espouse that their relationship is a high priority, but their behavior does not line up with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so having your relationship as a high priority, I try to help people really focus in on that. And if we can do that, then we can overcome a lot of situations in their marriages as well.
So for the individual, the couples that may, they tout and say their marriage is priority, but their behaviors may not be in alignment with that, that their quote unquote truth. What are some behaviors, some very specific behaviors you see, some men or some women or collectively you see that are really derailing them, from their goal of a happy marriage?
Right. When we go down to the priority aspect, that third choice around priorities, career and money. Just to be
Mm.
straight with you, people are raised to say that career, money, got to do it. Hey, I'm all about it too. I understand career is important, money is important, but when we follow career and money, and we say families first, but really our behavior tends to line up a lot of times that career and money is first.
Mm-hmm.
And it is important, but when we treat it more important than our relationship, we'll do things like live separately from our spouse. One spouse will be on the West Coast, the other spouse will be on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They'll justify it. I'm only going to do it for 6 months. Then 6 months becomes a year, and then a year becomes 2 years. Following that money, they think they can do it, and they work like crazy to try to make it work, and it really doesn't line up. It's hard enough to make a relationship and marriage work if you're together, but being separate, it makes it even more difficult. So that's one. I've also seen unfortunately, a lot of females, they will actually really be all about career, in their 20s and early 30s. In the mid 30s, they're ready to find someone and to actually settle down. And unfortunately, they're having a hard time finding someone, and they're having a hard time starting families. They run into infertility issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, when you put career in front of marriage and relationship, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Mm.
Money should be for our marriage and family, and that you do marriage and family first as a high priority, and then you have money to support the marriage and family. But the way we treat it, we flip it, and so I've seen that as a big problem that derails a lot of relationships.
Okay. So, you mentioned something about couples being married but living separately, and I'm asking this because this has been covered in the Ringside group. Shout out to everybody in the Ringside community. If you're out there, find our website, ringsidedebates.com, and if you're on Facebook, type in Ringside LLC. Join the private Facebook community and be a part of the team. But I gotta ask, I've heard people say you have married couples who are legitimately married, but as far as physically separated, they may be in the same house but sleeping in two separate beds.
Right.
In the same house or sleeping in two separate rooms.
Right.
Or in some cases, and I've heard this with celebrities, being married but living, like you said, in two different houses. And the justification that some people state is, well, we can be in love and we can be a healthy married couple, but sleep habits are different. Or I like
Right.
my space.
Right.
I like my privacy. And you're going to have those couples that feel like, well, just because we don't sleep in the same bed, it doesn't mean our marriage is any less healthy. Do you see this, or what is your theory about this? Because I've been hearing this more and more about married couples who are choosing not to sleep in the same bed, in the same room, and sometimes not even in the same house.
Right, right. I'm not an absolutist. I'm not going to say it's always this or it's never that, but I will tell you that what I have found helpful. Now, there are contexts where some people might have sleep issues, scheduling issues, or when they do that type of thing. And so in those things, context, what's going on in your life, those things can be reasons why you might sleep separately. But what I will say that was helpful is that the closer that you can be to each other in the same bedroom, in the same bed, that actually is helpful for bonding. Some people, their secret to a marriage is staying apart because they don't need to be. Well, then you need to question: do you even need to be married? True. But it's not a rightness or wrongness to it. It's what works for you. But I will tell you that what I find helpful is that you do go to the same bed at night, that you do touch each other at night in bed. Some couples downsize from a king size to a queen size because they say we want to be closer to each other. It's not a rightness or wrongness. It's what works best for you. I recommend that you sleep in the same bed.
Okay.
Every night as much as possible.
So we we all know it's 2021. We're going from we have the baby boomers out there. We got the Gen X, the millennials, and now the Gen Zers are getting married. However, I've been reading some articles that have been out there saying that you have the millennials and Gen Zs who are waiting longer to get married.
Right.
Waiting, getting older before they decide to settle down because many of them want to focus more on their careers or traveling or hobbies, this and third. Is this something you're seeing? Is this a trend that you've been noticing? With the generations, particularly with millennials and Gen Zers?
Yes, this is something that's been going on even before that the age of matrimony has been getting older and older and older as time has gone by. And a large part of it is because of what it takes to be successful in your career. In the old days, people would get married pretty much right after high school.
True.
Because they were ready to get into the workplace, start their family, and that type of thing. Then it became that you can't have a good career with just a high school diploma. You have to have a college degree. So then people started pushing the age of matrimony to after college. And so the age started getting older. And then people said, well, no, I need to be able to get my master's degree or my professional degree. So then the age got older. And then people started saying, and what we're at now is, well, no, I need to get my career in place first, or no, I need to get out of debt first, or no, I need to make my first million first. And the age starts getting older and older and older. The goalpost keeps getting pushed back further and further and further. But we got a lot of life going on during this time,
True. Right. Right.
and the biology doesn't line up with that. Our
Yeah.
biology.
Yeah.
This is why I've never been really critical of teenage pregnancies. I've never been really critical of people who get pregnant during their teenage years, because getting pregnant during your late teens and early 20s is actually in sync with nature. This is how biology designed it. It's not, the problem is not that in their late teens and 20s, it's not, the problem is not them getting pregnant. The problem is that we've created a culture that doesn't line up with our biology. So we're out of sync. And so this is a situation, and once they start getting into their 30s, again, now we have fertility issues. And so I'm in my 50s, and I have kids now, they're all in their 20s. And sometimes my wife and I say, well, I'm glad we had kids when we did. Because having kids really is, as my mother used to say, really is for younger people. The amount of energy that it takes to raise kids is for younger people. And sometimes my wife would even say, man, we probably should have even had them younger.
Got to have energy to run
Yes.
around, you know, run around.
Taking them
behind
here, doing this, doing
Yeah.
that,
So, yeah.
keeping up with them. And so this whole career first, make that money first, get my a job established, get my business off the ground, get out of debt, get my first this, get my first that. You keep backing up the goalposts, and you're going to be out of sync if you plan on having traditional, like, biological kids and that type of thing.
Never thought about it like that, but it makes a lot of sense. So, you know, a burning question on my mind, because very polarizing topic, you know, divorce.
Yes.
Particularly when you're in spaces where men and women talk about marriage today, you know, in present day, you know, a lot of people, when the subject of divorce comes up, they like to compare to the grandparents, like, you know, I want a marriage like, you know, grandparents, they didn't get divorced, you know. You know, our grandparents, great-grandparents, they stayed married
Right.
forever. And you're going to have people that are going to look at it like, well, what's going on today in present time, why the divorce rate is so high? You know, it's what is it, at 50% or even now over 50% or something like that?
Right.
And, you know, people are wondering, is it because, you know, the stigma of divorce is no longer there like it used to be in previous generations? Is it because women now are not, they're not held hostage in marriage because they're making money, they have just much education, so they're able to live fulfilling lives without a husband, you know, unlike in previous generations. So a lot of people have been hypothesizing, like, what is causing today's divorce rate to skyrocket compared to grandparents and great-grandparents?
Well, man, you said a mouthful. I
said it, but it comes up. This topic comes up quite often because you have a lot of people, like, you know, they're always comparing today's generation with previous generations in terms of staying married.
Right. So let's look at that. In the old days, I like to say you had Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill grew up. They pretty much lived in the same type of community, the same culture, same mores, same values. They grow up, they get attracted to each other. And they come together, and their conversations sound pretty much like, hey, marriage should be this way. Of course it is. Parenting is this way. Of course it is. Money is this way. Of course it is. Religion is this way. Of course it is. Let's keep this thing moving. What's there to talk about? Let's just keep it moving. Today, though, you grow up highly diverse from your next door neighbor. So now we have Jamal and Jaleesa grow up. Okay?
Jamal and Jaleesa.
they get attracted. They come together. Now their conversations are like, well, marriage is this way. No, it's not. You know, relationships this way. No, it's not. Parenting, no, it's not. And so now we have this conflict. So now people are coming together, and based on attraction, then they come together. It's a roll of the dice now, who you're going to get. Are you going to line up? Are you going to be compatible? It's less likely to be compatible now. And that's why I wrote my book, The Harmonious Way, Find Love in Marriage by Playing Your True Note, because it's a book about compatibility. And compatibility is very important when it comes to mate selection. And unfortunately, we have not been taught this. We are taught through the media and the movies, songs, and things that we should make our marriage choices based on love and chemistry and these types of things. So now See,
Sounds familiar.
yeah. So in the past, people could make those choices on love and chemistry and the attraction and come together and do that because they were already on the same page. Now you're on a different page, and now you grow up and you're attracted, and you make a choice like that on chemistry and love. Now you're going to come together, and it's going to be conflictual. Okay, so now we really have to pay attention and be much smarter about our mate selection choices than we have in the past. So, and you're right. The other factor too is women don't have to put up with a lot of bullshit like they used to have in the past.
Say it.
And so, and that's a good thing. We don't need to go backwards. They don't need to put up with a lot of bullshit. And so that is a good thing. But now we need to really think about. See, the advantage of the East is with those arranged marriages that they will do, is that you got parents thinking, will this person make a good match for my child, for my offspring? The advantage of the West is that we have individual choice. So why not take the benefits of both? The individual choice, hold on to that, but let's be much smarter about mate selection choice. Let's don't depend on, it's not do you love somebody. That's not the reason. I mean, that's good to have, and that's good, and you need to have that, but that's not the only reason to get married, because love will not conquer all. Love will not,
more strategic.
You've got to be more strategic. We spend more time and energy on the kind of car we're going to buy, where we're going to go on vacation, our investments, than we don't put any mental energy. We just, is she fine? Is the sex good? Or is the brother getting paid? Or just
making
any
6 figures.
Yeah,
they look good.
Yeah, any attraction.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, a lot of people. I do agree that love, emotions can be transitory. I mean, you can be in love, because a lot of people want to believe that the honeymoon is going to last for 50 plus years. You're going to go through peaks and valleys. You're going to go through cycles. You're going to be in love one year. You're going to love next year. You're going to like them one year. Next year, you're not going to like them. And so you do have those couples that place a high priority on love and don't really consider other factors.
Right.
Don't really consider other character, issues that can play a huge part in whether or not this marriage can be successful or this mate would be just as committed to you. Because I've always felt like, in addition to finding someone to be committed to you, you need to also be committed to the commitment you made.
Yeah.
And so, it's a lot. So something else that comes up a lot, because, a lot of things you just said right there sound extremely familiar and things that comes up a lot in the Facebook group. But these are very salient issues anyway. You're going to have a discordance in thought with a lot of people as far as gender roles and how gender roles today, or some people feel a dereliction of gender roles for men and women plays a part in divorce. Example being, you're going to have people that feel like the key to a healthy and happy marriage is the man works and the woman stays home. And you're going to have the other people that feel like, well, in 2021, a household needs to have 2 incomes. So it's important that the man and the woman work, both bring home the bacon, both fry it up and contribute to the household. And so you're always going to have these wars and these arguments from people who are both, old school and new school. To me, it's akin to politics. To me, it's like, Democrats and Republicans and how the best way a government should operate. Well, it's no different. You're going to have the old schoolers that feel like a household and marriage should operate this way. Man works, woman stays home, takes care of the children. Then the new school is like, no, the man and woman, they're both educated, they both receive job training, they both should work. Do you see any trends in this regard as far as couples that come and see you on the verge of divorce? Do they ever talk about gender roles, or maybe the gender roles that they've chosen, are they playing a part in why the divorce is at a point of dissolve?
Yes, I do. The gender roles, this issue does come up sometimes with certain couples. You'll have people say, well, this should be this way. I'm the man because I have, I got balls, and that means I run I run the show. And that's the one time they like to start pointing to the Bible. That's the only time the men dudes like to point to the Bible. Outside of that, they ain't pointing to it.
People treat the Bible like a buffet. They take the verses they like and they leave everything else behind.
They're
cherry picking. No, I see that.
Right. And so, And I'd say people, it's like go with your strengths. Don't get so hung up in the sex role stereotyping or gender role stereotyping. Go with your strengths. If I'm good at managing money, then that needs to be my role. And if that tends to be the woman, great. If that's the man, great. Go with that. Don't get hung up and beat your chest. Well, I'm the man, I should do that. We all have different strengths, and that's what I recommend that we do, because I do have couples come in trying to beat the chest and trying to do the stereotypical roles things. And sometimes the old-fashioned model, the man works and the woman stays at home, that'll work. Currently, that's what my wife and I are doing. But there are other times in our life, again, depending on context and the periods, when it was dual income, because we needed to do what we needed to do. And sometimes in our relationship, she was the only one working, and I was doing things like being a student in school. And so it's just about being flexible. What works? Survival. Don't get hung up so much on the sex role stereotyping, and really focus on strengths and what is needed at the time, and supporting each other. So that is my recommendation.
No, I mean, I actually, you said something I've echoed before, because I do feel like, we've had guys in the group who feel like, well, a man is supposed to do this, and a woman's supposed to do, a man is supposed to be in charge of the money. A man controls the money.
Right.
And my retort has always been, okay, if you're the man and you're the one supposed to be in charge of money, what do you do if your wife is an accountant?
Exactly.
What if she has a degree in finance?
Exactly.
And you failed accounting in school?
And you're horrible at finance.
You're horrible at money.
You can't balance your checkbook.
Right. So if your wife actually has a professional acumen for accounting and finance, and you may have a completely different degree and background altogether,
Right.
should you still be the one responsible for money?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how so many men still say, yes, the man is supposed to be the one in charge of the money. And I feel like if that's her strength, if she has that strength and you don't,
Right.
why can't you just, play to her strength or conform to what she's good at, versus trying to fit a square peg in a round hole? And it's like, well, you're going to end up having money problems if the person who should be watching the money isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I agree with that 1,000%, because you do have a lot of people who are extremely, very much rigid when it comes to these gender roles and how they're supposed to play out in a marriage. And, unfortunately, you're going to have couples out there who are not so flexible,
Right.
regardless of the circumstance, regardless of, who's in school or who's not, who's employed, who's not, whatever. You're going to have people feel like, no, men are supposed to do this and women are supposed to do that.
Yeah.
There's no
It was good enough for
ambiguity.
my mom and daddy. It was good for my
Right.
It's good enough for me.
Right,
But
exactly.
you're not being very flexible or adaptable. One of my favorite quotes, and I'm paraphrasing, is by Charles Darwin. He says, success does not go to the people who are the strongest or the most intelligent, but the people who are the most adaptable. Adaptability is the key to success. And so you got to change with the times. Times are changing. If you're still trying to hold on, well, my mama did it, my grandmama did it. See, a lot of people are cognitively lazy, and they don't want to think. They just want to go and do what mom and daddy did and grandma. That's good enough for me, and they're really proud in it, and they're staunching about it. But you got to be flexible if you want to survive out there. You got to adapt, as Charles Darwin would say.
And that goes back to what I said earlier, as far as people comparing their marriages to their parents and grandparents.
Yeah.
Well, because again, these topics come up so often, almost on a weekly basis, where, well, my daddy, he paid all the bills, and my mom, if she worked, she kept all the money, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm like, well, back then gas was also, 10 cents a gallon, and,
Right.
the inflation wasn't a thing yet. Now it's like, okay, if you're comparing today's time to your parents and grandparents, then, we're in for some problems.
Yeah. Now, if the traditional model works, then great. But if it's not working, don't beat your head against the wall. Adapt, change.
Right. And that's the thing, some people just need to kind of get out of their own way and just understand, like, look, what works for your household may not work for the household to your left, household to the right. If it works for your household, that's all that matters. Regardless if it's traditional, new school, whatever the case may be. I've always stated that marriage can be customizable.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be cookie cutter.
Definitely.
You live in a neighborhood, there's no guarantee that every single household is going to look, operate, and function the exact same way.
Right.
They're going to look, operate, and function what best suits them versus some, some norm that may seem outdated or whatever to some. But like you said, if the old school paradigm works, go for it. Because at the end, you need to play up your strengths
Right.
and do what works best for you and your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you said a mouthful, and I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anybody who's been to your website, they can see all the testimonials from people who've, come to you, and you saved a lot of marriages.
Yep.
Really quickly, before we wrap things up, can you give people your website and your social and how they can get in contact with you?
Sure. You can find my website at blacklovedoctor.com. Okay, and you'll see my book on there that I mentioned, The Harmonious Way. Just click on the tab there, and it'll connect you, or you can go straight to Amazon, and it'll connect you to Amazon as well. My YouTube channel is the Turpeau channel, so check me out on YouTube, and that's pretty much it. I'm trying to catch up with Ringside and do like Ringside does, but I'll get there one day.
Oh no, yeah, hey, we trying to get on your level. I mean, I've been admiring your work for a very long time, and it is an honor to be here with you today. Thank you so much for granting me this opportunity. Everybody out
Thank
there,
you.
this has been Corner Confessions with Ringside. Find our website, ringsidedebates.com. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and find the Ringside LLC community. Just go ahead and request to join, and either myself or one of the admins will let you in. And with that being said, thank you so much, and we will see y'all later.
Thank you.